Hey everyone, Press Dior here with Kingdom Death Monster. So, no gameplay this time, it's just going to be me rambling on. We kind of completed the campaign one way or the other. Even if we won, the ending is more or less similar, but I'll talk more about that in a little bit. This was with the 1.5 update, no expansions, so just no additional add-ons, nothing else, just 1.5. It was part of the, I think, wave 1 of our second Kickstarter. Which came out actually in a reasonable time frame, which was not something that's usual with this particular company, unfortunately. Everything else, there's still a bunch of other things that they're planning on adding, but I don't know when it'll come out. I mean, it'll probably be, I'm assuming 2 years. I'm just gonna say a safe estimate 2 years before I'll actually see anything else that was part of the backing thing. They also have plans for a whole bunch of other expansions and stuff, but I'm not really that concerned about it. Like the add-on stuff, it seems to be very interesting. It might add a lot of more flavor and things you can do throughout the gameplay, but all I can really grade it on is what I have right now, so that's what I'm going to do. Overall, 1.5 is an improvement. It fixes a lot of issues with a lot of cards and options being not viable. For example, Survival of the Fittest is a lot better now. It still has a very, very low birth rate, but the addition of the +1 evasion also applying to all current survivors instead of just newborns is also really, really good. And the once per lifetime survivor may reroll type thing is really good. There's obviously some issues with the reroll as far as the ruling for it, but I'll talk about, I guess, about the rules later. But a lot of the cards, like Survival of the Fittest, had significant improvements that made it a lot more viable to take. Same thing for a number of innovations, like I think drums got improved, sculpture is a lot better. Just in general, a lot of the innovations are pretty good. Also, a number of weapons and armor have been improved, making them somewhat viable, as well as including some new items that allow early access to certain weapon types a lot sooner. The Goldsmoke Knight himself, as far as as a boss, I think his toughness is way too high. I think dropping it maybe 3 to 5 points might make it a little bit. I mean, it should be probably a little bit stronger than a tier 3 hunt monster at the very least. It's just, I mean, I get what I was supposed to do to get prepared for the Goldsmoke Knight, but a lot of it is just not worth doing. The only thing I would say as far as the final tier of the adventure is trying to get your lantern research up. You need to get at least to, I think, rank 3. I think rank 3 is the one that gives you an additional D10 on your damage rolls. If I had that, I would have guaranteed got a lot of hits in. That being said, I still not sure I would have been able to beat him even in that case. Oh, speaking of the Goldsmoke Knight, there were some rules issues. On one of the reactions, it should not have triggered. I got it mixed up with a different card, because a lot of the cards actually look very much the same for the Goldsmoke Knight. Has the exact same diagram and everything else, but it has just a slightly different name, and then instead of saying, react on wound, it'll say react on fail. I had something trigger on wound when it should only have triggered on fail. So I ended up getting hit with one of those trample things when I didn't need to be, which would have changed kind of the flow of the battle, but it would not have changed the outcome. The other mistake I made, which was a bit bigger, and was in my favor when I made it, is I was totaling up the damage and considering that all one hit. That's not how it works for severe injuries. It's per hit. So when Blackened hits me for 3 times and it hits 2 locations, 2 of the same location, and I'm already heavily wounded there, I would have taken 2 severe injuries there. So I should have taken a lot more severe injuries, which would have killed me a lot faster. So needless to say, I'm pretty sure I would have lost the fight one way or the other. The fight itself was actually kind of fun, despite its overly high toughness and just the overly amount of insane damage it does. I understand that it kind of gives a use of the Thunder Maul if you brought it along, but I didn't really want the Thunder Maul. And even with the Thunder Maul, it's still a very small percentage chance of it actually preventing the blackened, but it is the only way to prevent blackened from happening. The other thing, I guess that made the fight a lot harder was the first card he drew was a legendary. He also went first, which was kind of a dickish move on the developers. But overall, someone did post kind of similar thoughts that I already had already. It's just like, all right, it's just the Goldsmoke Knight was just kind of there. He just shows up all of a sudden and starts killing everyone. There was build up for pretty much every monster in Kingdom Death. The only one that didn't actually have like an immediate build up was the Butcher, but level 1 Butcher is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, you got introductions to some sort of introductory event involving all the hunt monsters, as well as pretty much all of the Nemesis monsters with the exception of the Butcher. Butcher just shows up and starts wrecking shit. Though he's kind enough to let me go first. But the Goldsmoke Knight is just like, all right, he suddenly shows up. I mean, with the ending, it kind of implies that he was like supposed to be going after the Watcher or something like that, and just cleaning up after the mess. But there's nothing to follow. There's nothing really to understand or follow up with. It's just like there was a build-up. There was an actual build-up for the original ending that led to the Watcher. Like, oh, there's an actual cavern underneath our settlement. There's a monster under here that we need to deal with before it wakes up and starts wrecking us all. And then, the actual original ending was, oh, you killed the monster, but that monster was what was keeping the smaller monsters, all the other monsters at bay, and now they're swarming the settlement, and you gotta kind of just survive as long as you can. Now it's like, all right, well, instead of the monsters constantly swarming, your only option is to hunt rank 3s, and, you're just kind of passing the time until you find, I guess, a different light source or something. And then all of a sudden, Goldsmoke Knight shows up and kills everybody. And even if you beat him, I guess spoiler warning for the other ending, literally what happened, the other ending is everyone falls asleep and dies. Like a mist comes out of Goldsmoke Knight and everyone kind of just dies. Now, that being said, I've talked about the endings before where like all the endings are very, very much like you're screwed if you do, you're screwed if you don't. It's an inevitable situation. Type situation, and I was okay with that for the most part because that's just kind of the theme of the game where it's just like, all right, it's not really about surviving forever. It's more like how you lived all the way to that point. But for the Goldsmoke Knight, there was literally just nothing. It's just a guy showed up and started killing everybody, and then whether you win or lose, you still die, and it just there's nothing to go with. I know the setting generally tries to keep everything kind of like a vague mystery and stuff, but in this case, there really needed to be some clarity. Also, just like a page, like an actual page ending would have been nice. I mean, that's kind of what they had for the Watcher. Like, there's an actual page in the rulebook called Blackout that does all the ending stuff for it. But in the case of the Goldsmoke Knight, its ending is just a little paragraph, very similar to how the expansions were. A lot of the expansions kind of fall on the same line, but at least the expansions had build-up. Like, Sunstalker was, your own son was trying to eat you. And, whether the ending was both bad or good or whatever, like, at least you had the build-up of knowing, oh, great, we have to fight our very own light source type situation. What was the other ones? I don't even remember all the other ones. The Tyrant. The Tyrant was literally a guy that's in your settlement, and you're trying to like serve him and stuff. But he also tests you, and you eventually have to just keep fighting him until you do your final test type situation. All the new Nemesises in all the expansions all have their own build up as well. It's just Goldsmoke Knight's just like, hey, I'm here, and now I'm gonna melt you. And I think the most frustrating thing about the Goldsmoke Knight fight in general is we had the build up to the epic encounter with the Watcher, where you actually had your entire population participating, And for the Gold Smoke Knight, literally you only get 4 people, and if those 4 people dies, your entire settlement dies. Now, granted, I didn't have very many survivors left, but it would have been nice to have, a retinue to come and try to help out. I mean, I'm guessing it's because of all the smoke and heat that's coming off this guy that's like burning hot for some reason. But it takes away from, I guess, the final encounter type stuff. Also, to compare it with the Watcher, I know the complaint with the Watcher was he was too easy, but I like the option. I like the concept that there were multiple ways of kind of having a chance against the Watcher. I've talked about this before. Essentially, there are, I believe, like 4 factors. Your character stats in general, just higher stats means you have a higher chance of doing damage and avoiding attacks. Your gear, which that's self-explanatory. Gear is usually the thing that drives this game. Your population, because the more population you have, the more retinues you can get, as well as more people you can call in when people die. Because that's another thing you can do with the Watcher is it's very unclear as far as the ruling, as far as how gear works for it. But if someone were to die in the Watcher fight, you can actually call in another survivor to keep fighting. But I'm not sure how the gear would work for that because the game doesn't tell you because the game is very vague in its rules. And then the 4th thing is, of course, the Twilight Sword, which is if you have it and you have someone trained in it, it makes the fight much easier. But even if you're lacking in one of those, in one or multiples of those things, you can make it up by having more in the other thing. Like if you have low stat characters and maybe not the best gear, you can make up for it by having just an insane amount of population and just throwing retinues at the problem. And obviously, if you're just low on everything, but you happen to have the Twilight Sword, that alone might be enough to make up for everything. But for the Gold Smoke Knight, you literally have to have sharp weapons. You have to have sharp weapons, or a reasonable crit chance, I guess, can kind of work. And then you would have to have level 3 of the Lantern Research so you can get an extra die. If you don't have those, there's 0 chance of you winning for the most part. Like I said, unless you get some lucky crits in certain locations. I've read some people have hoarded their founding stones and just used, rawhide head, wasn't rawhide headband, cat's eye circlet with founding stones and just kind of shredding them that way. But founding stones are not exactly the easiest things to get because for some reason you can only get a few of them, even though they're literally just pieces from the stone floor you're standing in. But yeah, like I said, just the Watcher had just an epic thing. There was a bunch of rules and cool things you could do with it. And then the Gold Smoke Knight is literally I blow up a bunch of times every round and you're screwed. Have fun, I guess. Like I said, overall, I had just simply because I actually was able to hurt the thing and brought it down to about 6 cards or something like that. I think it made the fight a lot more fun. But I could see it being very frustrating for blind players to just go through, and all of a sudden this guy with 30-something toughness or I think he had 27 toughness, just comes in and just wrecks everything. And after the Watcher fight, you're like, why can't I call anyone else to help? Type situation. It's just so bad. in the overall scheme of things. So yeah, like I said, the ending ain't great. And there's just not really anything going on besides. Like, literally, the extra stuff is just an excuse to go through the stuff you generally ignore. I mean, usually I try to fight the Watcher as soon as possible so I don't have to deal with level 3 Butcher or level 3 Kingsman or any of that nonsense. But with this new setup where you have to go to Gear 30, you have to fight those people, and those people will slaughter you in most cases because level 3s are just ridiculous. Obviously, I did try a different approach right away from all the fights going to Gear 30. Some people say that's not really the traditional way to do it. Honestly, the only thing I would say was not traditional is the fact I wasn't able to do Lantern Research. If I hadn't had to deal with the Butcher, I would have done Lantern Research as soon as I could and get to level 3 and all that nonsense. But finding level 3s, I mean, I've talked about it before. Like, you have to go through so many events, and while it's not a high percentage of events cause instant death, there's definitely plenty. There's still enough to rolls that you would eventually draw some, and you'll just get set back more and more as you try to struggle to get to the end. Not only that, like I mentioned before, if the monster moves, which the monster does tend to move a lot on the board, if they get to starvation, and you would have to fight them, and you still suffer starvation. The starvation tile is bullshit, to say the least. Yeah, it's just kind of bad all the way, and like I mentioned before, there were multiple ways to kind of play and prepare for the Watcher. There are not multiple ways to prepare for the Gold Smoke Knight. I mean, you can kind of try to make your characters as strong as possible, but there's only so much you can do. Um, and it's just like it's just it's just kind of a mess. Like I mentioned before, like a lot of the cards got improved, which kind of made multiple routes a little bit more viable. That being said, there's still cards that are just essential. Like you have to have ammonia. Like when I lost ammonia, my growth as far as like gear was concerned stopped. I could not actually do anything without ammonia because you need ammonia to make leather. And even with like something like the blacksmith available, blacksmith also uses leather, so you have to have ammonia. Um, One route I didn't really try was I think it was, I don't remember which one it was. Oh, here it was. It was Drems. So I was getting Rhythm Chaser. There's an option to go for Synchronized Strike, and you can actually go down the innovation trail to kind of mess with all those. Um, so you can, like, if you get that and then get Forbidden Dance on top of it, you can make it so you can get rerolls on misses, and then Forbidden Dance can lead into Petal Spiral. Oops, sorry, not Petal Spiral. That's expansion. You can get the Heart Flute, which is slightly better. Uh, and you can make it so when a survivor uses Synchronized Strike, their attack assist may spend one survival to change a monster's reaction to failure before any wound attempts are made, which is kind of interesting. I think it's kind of an interesting route you can take, but it doesn't. I feel like it probably wouldn't work very well in against something like the Gold Smoke Knight, who tends to blow apart everyone. Which I guess is another thing. Like this, the Synchronized Strike was kind of a small introduction to tactics, which are introduced in other expansions, such as what was it? I don't remember the name of the monsters. I think I got them. I'm pretty sure I have them on my list here. I think it gets introduced in Flower Knight and Dung Beetle Knight. Actually, I think it's all the standard knights minus Gold Smoke, where you get access to tactic cards, which allow you to, where if you're in a certain formation, you get a bunch of benefits. But in the end game, when you fight the Gold Smoke Knight, that all gets pretty much disabled because he blows you. Every round he blows everyone away, unless of course you manage to prevent it with a Thunderball. And even if you prevent it with a Thunderball, the character that's doing the prevention still takes tons of damage. Usually blowing off his arms or legs in the process. So it's just kind of a big, just kind of, like I said, there's improvements. Like overall, the cards are improved, but they also, the way they handled the new end game kind of makes it so, okay, well, they're new traps that are just, if you waste resources going down this route, you're not going to get much out of it in the end. It's just, like I said, a little bit of a mess. Um, there's, I think the other issue, just in general with the timeline, is, well, in the early game, there's definitely a lot of stuff kind of happening every time. Towards the end, it was just kind of me going through the motions. I I tried. I mean, for this run, I did make an effort to try to make some top level gear. I actually made a full lantern set, which is my first time doing it. It's definitely a good suit of armor. It does allow you to take at least a hit or two from the Gold Smoke Knight, but that's about the only benefit. That and getting sharp on clubs is always nice. Um, but I guess the other issue, I guess, is kind of, I guess, the general flow of things. Like the in the early game, you can kind of explore a little bit, be like, all right, let's try out different weapons and gear and stuff. But once you start introducing things like leveling up and specializations and armor sets, anytime you get started on something, you generally feel the urge to kind of complete that. Like, for example, if you start the Rawhide set, you'll generally want to finish the Rawhide set before doing anything else. And I don't know if that's the most efficient way of doing things. I mean, Rawhide set, I personally think is a very good set, especially for early game. But you might have noticed, like, towards the end, I never used a whip. I wanted to use a whip, but to use a whip would mean to give up all the potential benefits of my specializations and masteries. And the way that family works is you can get characters that automatically start with ranks in a certain specialization or proficiency. So essentially, all my weapons were axes, swords, bows, guitars. I've had games where I literally just used maybe only one or two weapons, weapon types, because there was no point in me trying to devote resources towards something I can't build up because it takes forever. I mean, some of it kind of got mitigated with nightmare training and the fact I had so many endeavors, but part of that reason was because I did collective toil, which is arguably still weaker than cannibalism. In fact, if I had cannibalism, I probably would have been able to finish lantern research even without my hunts, because I could have just easily got people killed and then just get the resources off them and then use that to do what I need to do. So yeah, I think that was the other issue is collective toil. Like for the Watcher, collective toil is fine, but if you're going all the way for Gold Smoke Knight, you have to get cannibalism. You need the resources because you're more likely going to lose all the resources to Butcher 3 if you're not lucky, if you're not prepared to handle them. I think that's kind of it. I mean, I kind of talked a little bit about everything. Overall, like I said, it's an improvement, but it also the improvement kind of points out the flaws of the game, where it's like, all right, like I know the game kind of has ways to mitigate, like putting all your eggs in one basket with things like murder and stuff, but there are ways to get around that. And I don't know. Towards the end, a lot of the weapons don't. And some of the items and stuff don't feel worth the resources to go through. I mean, I didn't hunt a single Phoenix, because Phoenix is just not worth hunting. I never purposely hunt for a rank 3, because it's just not worth the potential losses, because towards the end of the game, you don't want your best hunters to get killed just for trying to fight a rank 3 something, because you're going to need those people for Gold Smoke Knight, because Gold Smoke Knight, you can only fight with 4 people, because you can't call in anyone, because the rest of your settlement just doesn't do anything. But like I said, overall, I'm glad I finally completed a 1.5 run. I've been meaning to do so I have no regrets there. I'm probably not going to do another Kingdom Death run until more content comes out, which that's going to be a very long time. I guess there is one thing I haven't really touched on, which is the rules. I've been playing Madara lately, and my first game of Madara was a teaching game that some people on the Discord were running, and the person that was running it had played Kingdom Death Monster, and I was like, we were talking about the rules of Madara, and I was like, hey, it's still more clear than Kingdom Death Monster, and he responded, he's like, I have like 200, I don't remember what the number was, like 200, 400 hours of Kingdom Death Monsters, and he's like, I still don't know if I'm doing it right. And that's kind of a bad place to be in with your game, when you feel like you just don't know the rules. There's an FAQ on their website for Kingdom Death Monster, but it's super out of date. It only talks about the standard 1.0 edition for one thing. I pretty much had to scrounge Google and pray that there was some decent forum post that kind of does the explanation. But even then, I'm not even sure what the exact call is. Some people will quote saying, Poot said this during, this playtest and things like that. And that was kind of the only thing I can go off of for a lot of things like the rerolls. Like, when can I use a reroll? Can I use it for somebody else? Does the character have to be there? And then, just other things that can trigger, like, in the Watcher fight, if someone goes down and you can replace them with another survivor, what gear does it get? Do I have to deploy it with spare gear that I have in my storage? Can I pick up the gear off the dead body of the other guy? There's just a lot of things where I'm just like, I'm not sure exactly how it's supposed to work. And the AI itself, I mean, there's the rule of death, but honestly, the rule of death doesn't really help me in a lot of cases. Or it just makes the game less fun, in my opinion. And that's kind of a problem. I mean, throughout the play, some people have pointed out some of the rules I made a mistake on, and then I would find it in the book, at a specific point. Like the idea that Nemesis monsters, if they specifically say a level on them, you fight that level no matter what. It doesn't matter if you fought it before. That was stuff that would have helped to know ahead of time, but the rules are kind of all over the place. Table contents doesn't really help. There's sections in the rule book, but they don't help a lot in most cases. The index kind of helps a little bit. The glossary in the back helps with maybe some keywords, but that's about it. It's just there's just enough stuff. There's just enough uncertainty with the rules where I just don't feel comfortable saying that I actually know everything about the game as far as like running it or teaching it to somebody. Um, so that's just kind of my general feel. Like I said, I had fun playing it, but it definitely is a bit of a slog. It has that XCOM problem where it's just like, all right, you get through the initial like, oh shit, everything's bad phase in the beginning, and then you kind of get into the stable area, and then you eventually reach the ending, which is usually something that's just more work than you care to do type situation. And that's just kind of how it ends up being. If That being said, if you do have some friends that are interested in playing it, it's a good game to play with friends. Playing it by myself is definitely very, very strenuous. There's a lot to keep up with, and honestly, I would just play it like a standard tribe of people trying to figure out what to do, and try not to spoil yourself too much, I guess. Um, I mean, if you want to be like a themed, settlement where it's just all they do is hunt cats and then become cat people, I mean, that's definitely an option. It's not going to be viable for the end game, but it's at least something you can have fun with until you inevitably get destroyed. I think that's a better route to kind of just go for some sort of general theme for your settlement and settlers, as opposed to trying to power game your way to beating the Goldsmoke Knight. I mean, if you beat the Goldsmoke Knight, I mean, good on you. Like I said, the fight itself is kind of fun, but at the same time, it's also filled with a lot of bullshit. So, I guess that's the quote you can go with. King of Death Monster, kind of fun, but also filled with bullshit. All right. As for what I'm going to be doing in the future, there's another board game I'm going to go ahead and show off briefly, and then I'm more than likely I might start doubling up on Madara for each week just so I can get through it a little bit faster. Because Chapter 3 of Act 1 is eventually going to come out for Madara, and I get to mess around with that, so that'll be fun. Anyway, I'm the Depressed Dior. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. See you guys next time.